It was a historic ending to the GWS Giants 2024 season, and not in a good way. Their straight sets exit makes it 4 consecutive seasons with at least one of the top 4 teams losing both finals. But it was different for the Giants. In both games, they had pole position down the runway and looked certain to reach a preliminary final, first against Sydney in the qualifying final, and then a week later against Brisbane in the semi-finals. They were the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde team, and psychologically, the losses will burn away in the off-season until they can forge another shot to be in September. The numbers behind both losses are hard to look at. Against Sydney, where GWS had a game-high lead of 28 points, they led for 120 minutes and 6 seconds. The Swans in total led for just 5 minutes and 44 seconds. In the semi-final against Brisbane, GWS had a 44-point lead and led for 129 minutes and 29 seconds, while Brisbane were in front for just 10 minutes and 22 seconds. If we round up to a total of 267 in-game minutes, it means the Giants in both matches combined led for about 94% of the time. To the semi-final itself, the Giants do get a podium finish of sorts. The 44-point comeback is the equal third highest deficit overturned in VFL or AFL finals history. It's behind Geelong in 1931, who came back from 47 points down against Carlton in the preliminary final, and Richmond, who won after coming back from 45 points down against Collingwood in the 1973 preliminary final. But if we do take out VFL history, then it does sit number 1 in the AFL era for the largest finals turnaround. It just points to how extreme the Giants' swing in play was, especially when it happened in back-to-back weeks when the results are so costly. But as good as the opposition were in both games, fighting back, there were so many key turning points that the Giants simply blew. It's not coaching or game day tactics, but concentration problems, and the worst thing you can do in the AFL, panic. Let's start with the qualifying final. Harry Perryman has no pressure with the ball in his hands and kicks it wide. It's sloppy, and then to cap it off, Jack Buckley falls over. Logan McDonald intercepts the ball and does kick a great goal. Early in the last quarter, Harry Himmelberg has the ball just outside the back 50. We can already see from this that the Giants have stopped moving and working, so when his chip kick gets cut off, it leads to yet another Sydney goal. Finn Callaghan loses all his composure inside defensive 50 and does some weird hack kick out, which lands in Papley's lap and gets him going with an important goal. From here on out, the Swans' brilliance did take over, but the point is, the Giants literally gave them 3 goals that never should have happened. We all get that pressure is fierce in finals, but the Giants for 3 quarters at times manhandled and bullied Sydney in the contest. In the 4th quarter, to Sydney's credit, they took over with Chad Warner's 7 clearances critical. The Giants were fumbly, falling over and running around like chickens with no heads. Post-game, Adam Kingsley said, "We had some experienced guys make some errors. We had some young guys make some errors. That happens. We need to learn from it and move on." The trouble is they didn't learn from the game, and the semi-final was even worse. The run did start by Brisbane's playmakers getting involved. The Lions are full of natural football talent, so them getting on a run wasn't surprising. 5 goals in about 6 minutes of game time set up a big challenge for GWS. But guess what? They actually answered it initially. They started to win the ball again, and Jesse Hogan, who was unplayable at times, kicked 2 really big goals before 3-quarter time. Then, 2 minutes into the final term, Toby Green kicked the captain's goal, and for all of Brisbane's work to get back in the game and swing momentum, they were now down by 31 points. But in a similar way to the Sydney game, the Giants just shot themselves in the foot so many times. At the 14-minute mark, with the game in the balance, Brent Daniels, who did a whole lot of good, including 4 direct goal assists, made the blunder of the game. He took advantage and in a complete brain fade, soccer kicked the point. It's a team killer and so strange from such a smart player. And 3 minutes after, Lachlan Keefe had another set shot. His goal kicking routine has looked horrible all season and his clunky motion never gave it a shot. It's 2 big chances and if either one goes in, I'm not sure Brisbane can come back. In the last 8 minutes, it was a painful exercise of giant players doing wild handballs, nothing kicks down the line and coughing up the ball non-stop. It was death by 1,000 skill errors. If the Giants can get back to a similar position in 2025, all eyes will be on them. Clearly at their best, they can beat anyone. But these disturbing lapses have been a growing trend this year. They still have a youthful side, especially up forward, and a 1-2 backline punch in Sam Taylor and Jack Buckley that is just about the best in the AFL. It's a very good football team, but not one that Adam Kingsley said himself is premiership ready.
To be safe and strong in contest and win the ball, we're just not. We're not the finished product yet, and I've been saying that all year. Unfortunately, it's evident, and so that's disappointing. But we've just got to improve. We got some feedback today that we weren't good enough, and we got feedback last week, and we're not yet a premiership brand, and we've got to continue to work towards that.
They have lost their past 3 finals by a combined 12 points, and only the future will tell us if mental scars are truly there. On the other side of things, Brisbane is through to their 3rd straight preliminary final and 4th overall under Chris Fagan. In 2 of their previous prelims, they have faced Geelong and lost both times. The semi-final comeback basically sums up their season. At their worst, they look lifeless and disconnected, but in a flick of a switch, they can come alive and look overwhelmingly powerful forward of the ball. I guess that's a good thing, but also a concerning thing. They were 3-5 to start the year, won 9 in a row, then lost 2 in a row. It's been a bumpy road, and in Geelong they face a team that has been ultra consistent since their 1 win and 6 loss patch during the season. But the final against GWS provides optimism. Despite Lachie Neale being tagged out and playing with a sore heel, Will Ashcroft's 17 disposal second half was unreal. He was so clean and poised when others weren't. Then up forward, Joe Danaher showed his clutch gene. 16 goals in his last 5 finals proves he is ready for the big time, and with the Cats backline that has chopped and changed, he could be a concern for them. It would be nice if his running mate in Eric Hipwood could chime in as well. The reality is, history is against Brisbane. They are 3-17 in their last 20 games at the MCG and have beaten Geelong just twice in their last 8 meetings. Chris Fagan has run with the Dancing on Ice motto for most of the year, and hopefully that does give this team a sense of freedom. Brisbane have shown this year that when they get hot, they are near impossible to stop, which always is a scary proposition for their opponent. Even with any reasonable lead, Geelong will likely feel uncomfortable for most of the game, and if the semi-final is anything to go by, Brisbane are really never out of it.